Hello and welcome back to Happier Ever After. Today we're talking about something I hear more than almost anything else after loss. I feel stuck, not falling apart, not in crisis, not unable to function, just stuck. If that word has been circling in your mind, or if you've been quietly wondering why life doesn't seem to be moving forward, even though time clearly is, this episode is for you. And I want to start by saying something very important. Feeling stuck after grief does not mean that you are failing. It does not mean you lack motivation, and it does not mean you're doing something wrong. In fact, in many cases, it means something has gone right. That might sound strange, so let's slow it down. In the early days after loss, life often becomes very narrow. There are things that must be done, decisions that can't be avoided, practicalities that demand attention. Survival takes over. And while that phase can be brutal, it can also create momentum. There's structure, there's urgency, there's a sense of just get through today. But then slowly that structure falls away. The urgent tasks reduce, life becomes quieter, and suddenly there's space. And for many people, that's when the feeling of being stuck begins. Not because nothing is happening, but because something fundamental has shifted. When people say they feel stuck after grief, what they often mean is they don't feel pulled forward by anything. They've lost a sense of direction or purpose. Motivation feels absent or unreliable. They know they don't want to stay as they are, but don't know what comes next. And when there are no clear answers, self judgment often creeps in. I should be coping better by now. Other people seem to move on. Why can't I get going again? I want to be very clear here. This experience is not a lack of effort. It's not laziness and it's not you giving up. It's your system recalibrating after a profound loss. One of the biggest misunderstandings about grief is the idea that healing looks like forward motion. That if you're not actively rebuilding, growing, or changing, then you must be stuck in a negative way. But grief doesn't work like that. There is a phase, often invisible and deeply misunderstood, where the system pauses, not because it's broken, but because it's stabilizing. After prolonged stress or trauma, the nervous system often moves into a holding pattern, not shut down in a dramatic sense, but not mobilized either. It's a kind of in between. You might recognize it as low motivation, emotional flatness, difficulty imagining the future, a sense of waiting for something you can't name. This isn't stagnation, it's consolidation. Your system is integrating what's happened and trying to establish a new baseline, and that takes time. The problem is that our culture doesn't respect this phase. We're encouraged to bounce back, to find silver linings, to reinvent ourselves. So when that doesn't happen, people assume something is wrong. They label themselves as stuck and then try to force movement, push harder, set goals, make changes they're not ready for. And often that just creates more exhaustion. I want to gently reframe this for you. There is a difference between being stuck and being stabilizing. Being stuck implies failure. Being stabilized implies intelligence. Your system is not meant to leap from survival straight into thriving. There is a middle ground. And that middle ground often feels uncomfortable because it doesn't come with clear markers or praise. You're not in crisis anymore, so support fades, but you're not yet orientated to a future, so motivation hasn't returned. That can feel deeply unsettling. Another reason people feel stuck after grief is because loss disrupts meaning. Before your loss, your life likely had an internal logic, plans, assumptions, a sense of this is how things are. When that collapses, the future can feel blank, and blank space can feel frightening. Not because there's nothing there, but because you don't know yet how to imagine yourself in it. This is especially true after the death of a partner. So many decisions, roles, and dreams were shared. When they're gone, it's not just grief you're facing, it's the task of reorientating your entire life without the person you planned in it with you. That's not a small thing, and it's not something that can be rushed. I know how tempting it can be to judge this phase, to judge yourself, to tell yourself you should be more grateful, more proactive, more together. But I want to offer you a different lens. What if this pause is not a problem, but a protection? What if your system is saying, I need to feel steady before I can move? Because growth that happens before stability rarely lasts. It often comes from pressure rather than readiness. And pressure after loss tends to backfire. Another thing that contributes to feeling stuck is fear. Not always obvious fear, often very quiet. Fear of making the wrong choices, trusting yourself again, building a life that might fall apart, hoping and losing again. After loss, your sense of safety has been shaken. So hesitation makes sense. Being cautious makes sense. And that doesn't mean you'll never move forward. It means your system is asking for reassurance, not force. I also want to name something important here. Feeling stuck does not mean you want to stay in pain. It means you don't yet know how to live differently. And that's a skill, not a personality trait. Living after loss requires learning how to orientate to a new world, new rhythms, new values, new definitions of success and happiness. And learning takes time. There is no timeline for this, no benchmark you're meant to hit. If you're here listening to this and wondering why life hasn't taken shape yet, please hear this. You are not behind. You are in transition, and transitions are inherently uncomfortable. They don't come with certainty or applause. They come with questions, with doubt, and with pauses. That doesn't mean you're stuck forever. It means you're between chapters. One of the most compassionate things you can do in this phase is to stop asking yourself to leap. Instead, you might gently ask, what helps me feel a little more steady? What drains me less? What gives me small moments of orientation? Not big goals, not life plans, just steadiness. Because steadiness is what allows direction to emerge naturally. If, as you're listening to this, you notice frustration or sadness rising, pause for a moment, feel your body, notice your breath, notice that you're here. You don't need to solve anything today. Feeling stuck does not mean you are broken. It means you are human, grieving, and adapting to a life that changed without your consent. And that deserves patience. If you'd like gentle support as you navigate life after loss, you can explore the Life After Loss guide via the show notes or at happiercoach.com/happier ever after /life after loss. You'll also find the Happier Ever After hub at happiercoach.com/happier ever after, where resources continue to be added throughout the series. You are not failing at healing. You are not missing something everyone else has. You are finding your footing in a changed world, and that takes time. Thank you for being here with me today. I'll be with you again in the next episode.